This article is entitled, Am I My Brother's Keeper? Written by illustrious brother Pamela McDowell, 30th degree. Original writing date, January 31st, 2019. In Freemasonry, the term brother is used to demonstrate a closeness of relationship that is not necessarily based on blood ties. It is formed from a common bond, shared obligations, and experiences. In addition, being a child of the Divine Father, or Great Architect, accounts for a sacred cemented kinship with each other. Lately, the question, am I my brother's keeper, has been echoing in my mind in terms of my own Masonic obligations. This question goes to the foundation of what it means to be of service in the great work. The ultimate aim in Masonic teachings is the mastery of self, through reflection, actions, and acceptance of the sublime lessons of immortality. The student is encouraged to temper their emotions and control their vices and practices the tenets of brotherly love, relief, and truth. This line of thinking led me to revisit the story of Cain and Abel, and the actual source of the brother's keepers phrase. As in any holy book like the Bible, there is fair debate whether the passages should be treated literally or as a malleable allegory. The seeming contradictions are common for writings that span over centuries. Each individual's faith, academic viewpoint, view of religion, or personal worldview certainly comes into play in interpreting the text. I was hoping to find some Masonic insight in this age-old Bible story. Basically, the passages from Genesis 4:1 through 16 can be summarized like this. Cain was the first son of Adam and Eve, and Abel was the second son. Cain was a farmer, and Abel was a shepherd. When it came time to bring an offering to the Lord, Cain offered fruit and Abel offered a slain lamb. The Lord was satisfied with Abel's offering, but unsatisfied with Cain's. Cain, filled with jealousy, killed his brother. After the murder, we read in Genesis 4:9, quote, "The Lord said to Cain, 'Where is Abel, your brother?' He said, 'I do not know. Am I my brother's keeper?'" End quote. Things did not go well for Cain. Translated from the original Hebrew, the word keeper refers to someone who watches over or guards. What is the symbolic meaning of these two characters? Could they relate to the quest of a Freemason? Some theories say that Cain and Abel were twins, and each twin could represent our higher and lower natures. This speaks to the heart of the Masonic work, which is learning to navigate the duality of our existence. For example, there would be no light without darkness, no good without evil, no love without hate, and so on. Comparing light versus darkness is an important study. However, what's curious about the subject of light is everyone knows what it is until you ask them. In the Bible, we read that God is light. This quotation invokes a mystery. It suggests there is a deeper connection to the subject of light than meets the eye. It seems unlikely that when you go into a room and flip a switch, you are turning on God. Equally mysterious is the concept of darkness. Recently, in a lodge meeting, we studied Brother Leonard Bozeman's work, The Light of a Master Mason. Bosman, proposes that the myth of Cain and Abel is about the Freemasons' battle between two opposite aspects of the mind. The grand struggle deals with the incompatibility of these two natures, especially when the ego is in control. From Light of a Master Mason, we read, quote, "Abel is the love mind, Cain is the head or brain mind. Abel is the heart or spirit, Cain the earthly mentality. Hence, it is that, symbolically as well in actuality, Cain kills his brother Abel. That is to say, the hard Cain-like mind kills the pure love nature, Abel, when preventing it functioning." End quote. Bosman makes a good point that Abel is not the one struggling. The struggle is about Cain because the ego is always in constant struggle to kill off the higher nature. The ego wants total control because to sacrifice the ego is to die to self and let the light nature live through you. No easy task. Both aspects of the mind have a function. Cain, according to the inner meaning of its etymology, represents the hard, pointed weapon of the mind. Cain is the selfish, acquisitive mind, the getter, the centralizer, whilst Abel is the yielding one, the giver. If this is true, then how do we master these two aspects of our nature? The symbolic key may lie in Tubal-Cain, a blacksmith character in the Bible who was the son of Lamech, a descendant of Cain. He was known as an artificer in metals, of brass and iron. In the legend, there is one biological connection as well as a symbolic one. Bosman writes that Freemasonry may be thought of as an alchemical experiment, the lodge in this sense being the great architect's cauldron, in which the base metal of the lower nature will be changed into the gold of the spiritual. Further on, in Light of a Master Mason, we read, quote, "In all this, the student of Freemasonry will see the inner and secret meaning of Tubal-Cain, the yielding of this central might or egotistic mind, the letting go, as it were, of the personal self as it spreads out to become a greater self, the one that is in all." End quote. In other words, the more we cling to self-importance and ego, the more we are undoubtedly living in darkness. The mystical worker will often cry, "When I'm nothing, I'm everything." This might possibly be why so few people seek an authentic path to enlightenment. Who wants to be nothing? We've all been told the whole purpose is to be somebody. We could draw two conclusions from all this. We could decide that Cain and Abel legend is simply a good story and an illustrative tale to tell our children. Or we could assume that it does have some merit in its symbolic input. I prefer the second option myself, if only because it jives with my own institution as a Masonic worker, that we can learn about ourselves from symbols. Am I my brother's keeper? Indeed, I try. Quote, "To make daily progress in Masonic light," end quote, sounds simple, but it's okay. The hardest concepts a Freemason has to learn. That's okay, because it also offers a lifetime of value. Quote, "What the sad world needs, what each of us needs, is more light, more love, more clarity of mind, more charity of heart. And this, in copious measure, is what Freemasonry gives us, if only we let the light of love enter the darkest recesses of our heart." End quote. Thank you for listening.